Hi, today's video I want to discuss with you bridging finance, what it is and why you might use it, and practical applications for bridging finance in the property investment world. We use it day in, day out, bridging, and we find it really useful. And let's cover some of the reasons why you would use bridging to start with, and some of people's misconceptions around bridging. So some of the things I like about bridging finance, it's fast money. Typically you can complete property transactions inside 28 days, which is really useful. And technically you're classed as a cash buyer, because when somebody asks you if you're a cash buyer, what they're really asking you is, can you complete really quickly? So whether it's cash or somebody else's cash, i.e. bridging finance money, because it's private money, bridging finance, it's typically private institutions. They're usually not FCA regulated in a lot of cases, and there's a lot less restrictions with bridging, which is why we like to use it. It's very fast money. Also, it's short term, so you're typically taking out these bridging loans for a very short period of time, because you're not going to want to take them for a long period of time because the rates are usually quite high. And you might have heard that bridging is expensive. It is expensive, but you factor it into your figures, and as long as it works, then it doesn't matter. They're the ones that are taking a risk by lending you the money. But you know you're not taking a risk because of the way we're buying properties and the types of properties we use to buy with the bridging finance. It's also very flexible, because if you buy a property with a mortgage, they've got to make sure there's a kitchen, a working kitchen and a working bathroom. They're the two main things to make it mortgageable. Whereas with bridging finance, it doesn't matter if there's a working bathroom or kitchen. It could be unmortgageable, there could be any number of issues with the property, but most cases bridging lenders will lend in most cases, which is really good for us, because we can buy properties, we can fix them up, and then we can refinance them or flip them on and sell them and make a margin. So another thing as well, and this relates to the flexibility side, if you buy a property with a mortgage, the mortgage lender wants to ask you about your deposit, where it's come from, whereas bridging lenders don't really care where it's come from. As long as it's legitimate, then it can come from anywhere. It can come from your aunt, your uncle, a private loan. It doesn't matter, and this is another reason why bridging finance is so good for us as investors. And finally, leverage. So you might have loads of money in the bank, but it's going to run out at some point, and you're only going to be able to buy so many properties with that cash. Whereas if you apply leverage, like a mortgage, but this is bridging, so they'll lend you similar kind of rates, up to 75% loan to value typically, and that's what a lot of buy-to-let lenders will also lend you. So by using bridging finance money up to 75%, it means that your money goes so much further and you can buy more properties. Depends how aggressive you want to be at buying properties, but usually using bridging is perfect because it provides leverage and it allows your funds to go so much further. Let's look at an example now of why we'd use. So that's what bridging finance is, but let's look at an application of why you would use bridging on what type of property. So some of our common type properties are all buy-to-lets. In most cases, we do deal with mixed-use properties, blocks of flats, development deals from time to time, but most of our property transactions are buy-to-let investment properties. So what we'll do is explain the bridge aspect, and why we'd use it to help us get from point A to point B. And usually this is a timeline. The timeline is 6 months. That's typically the average time from taking a bridge out to paying the bridge back. There's exceptions to that, and sometimes it does go over. So you might want to allow maybe 6 to 7 months on your bridge, maybe. But usually I get a 12-month bridge out because it gives you plenty of margin for the mistakes or anything that might go wrong. Just gives you that sort of buffer in case something goes wrong. But typically we're going to try and exit the bridge within 6 to 7 months. So we'll talk about that as we discuss this case study. So we're taking an average property, let's say the market value of a property is £100,000, and we secure the property for 80. That's a very normal type of deal for us, 20% discount. In today's market that we're in, it's very achievable to get these types of deals, and this is why we use bridging, because we would get a bridging finance and apply for bridging at the agreed price at 80,000. So then you still have to put a deposit in like a mortgage. So you put in £20,000, which equates to 25% deposit. The bridging company then lends you £60,000 for the property. So your total output cost, so you've put in a deposit and then some fees, legal fees, transaction fees, etc., will equate to around about £24,400 or thereabouts. So you've put that money into the deal, and you've not had to buy it with cash, so you've still got, you've lent, the bridging company have given you 75%, which is £60,000. So that's a really good leverage, and it means that the 60,000 you might have had as cash, you can use more deposits to buy more properties. But for this example, you've put 24,400 in the deal, you're at point A, and then you've bought the property. Now you've got to wait usually at least 6 months, because you're subject to what's known as a 6-month rule. So the 6-month rule, if you don't know what it is, means a Council of Mortgage Lenders Handbook, which is a handbook it's guidelines and guidance for lenders to follow, which allows somebody to refinance a property. They say that they have to have held the property for 6 months. Now it's a guideline, it's not mandatory. A lot of people think it's mandatory, it's not, but there's specific reasons why you might have to wait at least 6 months to get to point B and pay off the bridge. Because again, you're not going to want to stay on that bridge, because the fees are quite expensive monthly, and it's quite costly to stay on there. So it's just a short-term product to allow you to get to this end result, which is to refinance. Now you're going to wait 6 months minimum. If you buy a property like this, it doesn't need any work. So you've bought it, it's worth 100, you've paid 80 for it, you've not done any work, and you've got to wait at least 6 months, because you can't apply for a refinance within 6 months, because a mortgage lender will say, well, what work have you done to the property? The fact you bought it discounted is not enough. And in fact, some lenders don't like it that you've bought it at a discount, which is crazy, because you think their risk would be a lot lower if you bought at the lower price. It's not like you're paying more for the property, but they don't like it. They just they're just completely risk averse, banks, and they just don't like the fact you've just bought it at a discount. They don't see it as being worth higher, so they'll probably downvalue it at maybe what you paid for it. So you don't want that. You want to be refinancing out at the market value, which is the 100,000. You don't want to apply for a mortgage at 80,000, because there's no real benefit to you doing that. You'll have more equity in it for sure, but you want to get out most of your money. This is the whole point of using bridging. So if you remember, you've got 60,000 you owe the bridging company. So by the time you get to point B in 6 months' time, you apply for a remortgage, and you've gone to your mortgage broker and said, right, can you get me a mortgage on this property? It's worth £100,000. You've not done any work to it, but because it hits the 6 month point, the lenders now, because it's subject to 6 month rule, they are fine to value it at whatever the market value is in 6 months. So they're fine. It doesn't matter what you paid for it, because you waited 6 months. And that's why it's called the 6 month rule. It gives them some protection to know that you've held it for a period of time, and you can refinance at that higher figure. Now, the mortgage you've applied for will typically be 75% loan to value. So the bank will lend you 75% of the 100,000, which is £75,000. And then, so your deposit is already built into the deal, because you got it at a discount. So the mortgage company are lending you off the higher figure. Remember, you bought at 80, but the property's worth 100. So now you're applying for a mortgage at the higher figure. So when you take 25% off, your mortgage company advance you £75,000 on the day of completion, and then you pay off the bridge at 60. You don't need a calculator to work out, you've got £15,000 surplus, so that goes back into your pocket. Now you put in 24,400 and you're going to get out about £15,000. Now there might be some extra costs involved, but this is just to give you a basic understanding of bridging finance and how it works on the types of deals that we put together, and why it's really important to use it, because you can buy properties quickly inside 28 days. If you try to do this with a mortgage, you can have no end of problems, because one, I said, if you try and apply for a mortgage for a property that's discounted, they'll probably say no, because they'll see that you're buying it under market value. That's number one. Number two, they take months to complete mortgages. They take a lot of time. So the reason why we can agree to get properties at a discount is because we give sellers speed and certainty, and we say we can buy the property quickly, typically inside 28 days, and this is why we get it at a good price. Furthermore, all the other benefits we discussed, like unmortgageable properties, if it's got no working kitchen or bathroom, you can refinance it, and you can get a bridging loan on the property, whether it's got issues or not, generally. There are some bridging lenders that will lend you higher loan to values as well, and they'll lend you perhaps 90% of the actual market value, not the agreed price, which means you don't have to put as much money in. But the problem is with bridging, because you pay interest on what you borrow, it's not usually viable to do that because it gets more expensive for you to borrow the money. It's quite typical to do a deal like this where you put 25% deposit in, and then you're getting your money back out on completion. So you're waiting the 6 months and you apply for your refinance. Now the exception to that would be, there are some properties you come across where in its current condition it might be worth 100,000, and then you agree the price at 80, but the property needs a full refurbishment, and when it's done up it might be worth 150, 180,000. That is very common to see, especially when a property needs substantial works doing to it. So the good news with this method is you don't have to actually wait 6 months. You can actually apply for a refinance. In some cases, some of the lenders, like the Nottingham Building Society being one of them, they will usually lend you within a month of ownership. So you buy the property at point A, and then you wait a month, as soon as you've got the works done, might take you longer than a month, but let's suppose you get it done in a month, all the works, then you can apply for a refinance within that 6 month period, which means you get your capital out much quicker and you can buy more property. So that's the real trick. You want to try and get your cash out quickly, but worst case, you're going to have to wait 6 to 7 months to get your cash back out if you're not adding significant value to the property. So let's look at a few final things. The rates, typically with bridging finance, as I said, it's expensive, but you're going to factor it into your numbers, and you're only going to go ahead of it if you can make money and get the end result that you're trying to achieve. And this is why the rates are typically 0.83% to 0.9, maybe a percent. The most expensive we've seen at the moment is about 1.5%, but typically depends how much you're borrowing, and their criteria. But there's many bridging lenders that will lend you under 1% per month. So we pay about 10.2% per annum, but expect to pay up to 15% per annum for bridging finance. And I always get them over 12 months, typically. Loan to value, you're getting up to 75% of the agreed purchase price, but there are some lenders that will lend you off the market value up to 75%, up to 90% in some cases of the actual market value of the property, which is beneficial if you don't have a lot of money to put in for deposits and you want to spread that cash a bit further. But remember, it will eat into your profit, overall profit on the deal. But that might be okay, so you've got to take it on a case-by-case basis. That might work for you. The term, as I said, we take 12 months. I'd take 12 months. The longest you can get them for is typically 12 months, but you can go bridge to bridge to bridge, which you don't want to do. People who do that bridge hopping is because they're in trouble, and there's various reasons why people might do it, but you don't want to get in that habit of going from a bridge to a bridge. You want to go in bridge to refinance onto a normal long-term mortgage product to settle it down. The rates will be much better and you're going to make money. But people who do bridge to bridge have typically made a mistake, and this is where some of the risks come in as well. It can be risky. You may have heard that with bridging. It's risky if you don't know what you're doing, and there's a lot of people out there that just get bridging on development sites, really risky things. You've got to know what you're doing with bridging, and you've got to know the implications as well. So if you take a 6-month bridge, for example, and you can't pay them back in 6 months, some lenders will have a default rate, so it can automatically double, in some cases, that interest. So you've got to know all this, and you've got to read your offer for the bridging lender. Now you can get sort of 9-month bridges, for example, so that's a sweet spot between the 6 and the 12. But me personally, I just think, well, I'll take 12, and you're only going to pay 12 months worth of interest if you take it for the full 12 months. And if you do take it for the full 12 months, you've needed it because you've hit a problem with refinancing. There could be a few challenges to stop you refinancing, but in most cases, you're going to line up your exit before you get your bridge, and that's again something you need to do. You need to speak to a mortgage broker, make sure you've got good credit and you're able to exit the bridge before you get the bridge, because some people get a bridge and then this is when they do the bridge hopping, because they realise, oh, I've got bad credit, I can't get off my bridge, I can't get a mortgage, I've got to go bridge to bridge to bridge, or I've just got to sell it at an auction, and then you become a motivated seller and then you lose money. So these are some of the risks you've got to be really mindful of when you're using bridging. But that's a summary of bridging, what it is and why we use it, and why we encourage investors to use it, because it's fast, it's fluid, and it gets you that end result really quick. And this is how you can build a portfolio really quickly using some of these methods.